Welcome to the Home Downsizing Show. My name is Ben Souchek, your host and the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions. With the Home Downsizing Show, I want to provide you the information and resources to make the downsizing of your house stress and hassle-free. So sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining us. Hello, and this is Ben Souchek, and welcome to this week's episode of the Home Downsizing Show. On today's show, being recorded in really very early December, and it's the time of year when families are getting together and sometimes realize that maybe now's the time to downsize, or maybe now's the time for a parent or loved one to sell a house and get to someplace that is a little bit better. So today, I'd kind of like to go over the benefits of Home Downsizing Solutions, a company that buys houses direct from sellers. Would you like to discover how to sell your house fast and easy without the stress or hassles of a typical house sale, and have a smile on your face when you're in your new home or apartment? Are you thinking about selling your house so you can live a carefree life without the issues of home ownership? Are you thinking about selling your house and moving to a smaller home, apartment, or apartment community? Is your current house too big, have stairs that are a challenge to navigate, or otherwise is just not the right fit for your current lifestyle? Is your or your spouse's health making it difficult to remain in your current house? Do you currently want or need to find a senior living community that can provide a better living arrangement than you currently have? Are you an adult child or caregiver that needs to get a parent or loved one to a better, safer living arrangement than they currently have? Have you inherited a house dealing with an estate or probate situation with real estate involved? If you said yes to any one of those situations I just mentioned, you're in the right place. As I mentioned, my name is Ben Souchek, the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions, and, of course, the Home Downsizing Show. I have been providing solutions to people that want to sell a house and move to a smaller home, apartment community, or other senior living arrangement for more than 25 years. Being fully transparent, for the first 10 years or so, I really didn't know why homeowners would sell a house to myself or any other home buying company. But when the economy corrected in 2008 and the real estate market changed drastically, I had more and more sellers contact me that didn't necessarily have to sell, but wanted to sell and downsize to a smaller home or apartment. These were the sellers that taught me why Home Downsizing Solutions services were beneficial and valuable. These were the sellers that taught me that being able to sell a house in its as-is condition, needing repairs and or updates, not having to get the house in show-ready condition, not having complete strangers tromping through their house, especially at inconvenient times, not knowing when a buyer would be able to close and buy their house, and not knowing what they would actually net from the sale of their house. These benefits were of value to them. Some sellers especially enjoy being able to sell their house and not move right away. In some circumstances, the seller was on a waiting list for an apartment community, knew they were going to be moving in the next 30 to 90 days, but didn't know exactly when that was going to happen, and knew they wanted or needed to sell their house to make the move. We were able to accommodate them. We could buy their house, but allow them to stay in their house until they could make the transition to their new home. The benefits I could provide with Home Downsizing Solutions were extremely valuable to these clients. So if any or all of these benefits would be valuable to you, I invite you to contact Home Downsizing Solutions right away. My mission with Home Downsizing Solutions is to provide a stress and hassle-free way to sell a house and move to a living arrangement that provides you comfort, care, and the lifestyle that you or a loved one deserves. I know it can be overwhelming to think about moving from a house a person has been in for 20, 30, 40 years or more. I know it can be even worse if you or a loved one have experienced a life event that is pushing a transition to some type of senior living arrangement to happen at a much faster time frame. Only Home Downsizing Solutions can provide the most stress and hassle-free solutions to sell your house and move to senior living. Let's discuss the typical challenges that come with selling a house. If you want to sell a house, there are inherent challenges you must deal with. Getting the house in show-ready condition, doing repairs, updates, or deferred maintenance to get the house into a retail sale-ready condition, dealing with the oftentimes untimely intrusion of showings with potential buyers and their agents that may or may not be serious or financially able to buy your house. The uncertainty of when it will sell, and the possibility of the cost and stress of taking care of a vacant house. Dealing with picky buyers, whole house inspections, and the negotiations with buyers from the results of the whole house inspection and appraisal. The uncertainty of when the buyer will actually close, and what you will actually net from the sale of the house. Home Downsizing Solutions eliminates all of these challenges. With Home Downsizing Solutions, there is no need to deal with the hassles or cost of repairs, updates, or deferred maintenance to get your house into a retail show-ready condition. Do you have the time or ability to contact multiple contractors for bids, oversee the work that is supposed to be getting done, and ensure that the repairs are completed correctly? Not to mention living in the house while all these items are being done. There's no need to take weeks or months going through the stuff that has accumulated over the possible decades that you've been in your house. Just take what you want to take, sell or donate what you want, and leave the rest. Home Downsizing Solutions will take care of it. With Home Downsizing Solutions, there is no whole house inspection or formal appraisal that can provide potential buyers with a list of deficiencies to renegotiate their agreement with you, which can often happen with a traditional sale. Home Downsizing Solutions removes the catch-22s of selling a house and moving. If you sell your house and it sells too fast, it may cause a situation of having to move, then move again to where you actually wanted to move in the first place. Or if you move to your new home or apartment and your house hasn't sold, you now have a vacant house to worry about with items such as utilities, vacant house insurance, and potentially vandalism. Home Downsizing Solutions eliminates all of these items. If you need funds from the sale of your house to move to your next home or apartment, Home Downsizing Solutions provides the solution for that too, without having to incur the hassles or costs of a bridge loan. Many times, Home Downsizing Solutions can buy your house, but allow you to stay in your house for 30, 60, sometimes 90 days or more to accommodate your move and your schedule. At Home Downsizing Solutions, we want to make the sale of your house and move to a new home, apartment community, or other senior living arrangement as stress and hassle-free as possible. You may be thinking, having Home Downsizing Solutions just buy my house sounds great. But what's the catch? As I mentioned earlier, if the benefits that Home Downsizing Solutions provides are of enough value, there really isn't a catch. But let's discuss some common questions and concerns most sellers have. The most common question or thoughts home sellers typically have are, will I get less for my house than if I list it with an agent? Am I just going to get a lowball offer for my house? Is this a legitimate company or just some scam? These are all valid questions and concerns to have, especially when it comes to a financial transaction like this. First, let's discuss gross versus net. If a person wants to sell a house, there are inherent costs, transaction costs, to take into account, or what I call the realities of selling a house. It can be confusing when an agent says that they can sell a house for, say, $100,000, for example. The $100,000 is a gross number, not the actual net amount that a seller will put in their pocket. Before we discuss specific transaction costs, let me say that these costs will depend on the current real estate market you are in. If you're in a seller's market, like recently in 2021 through mid-2022, the cost may be less, as that was a time when it was very easy for a seller to sell a house with lots of buyer demand. If you're in a buyer's market, like back in 2009 for a few years after that, the transaction cost may be higher if you can attract a buyer to purchase your house at all. At Home Downsizing Solutions, to be as transparent as possible, we always attempt to provide you with current market information so you can see what your current market conditions are. Now, let's discuss transaction cost. First, you have marketing cost. Marketing costs are simply an amount that it costs to market a house and find a buyer, no matter how you do it. These are typically commissions or fees paid to a real estate agent. A seller may choose to market the house themselves, but they will still typically pay or incur a cost to compensate the buyer's agent. And it will still take money, time, or both to find a buyer in some way. Next, the buyer's discount. In most markets, the buyer's discount is the reality that houses do not sell for asking price. Buyers will typically always offer less than the asking price, and the sale amount will be determined by negotiations with the buyer and seller. Next, closing costs. Depending on where you are geographically, the closing costs will be split between the seller and buyer in a local traditional manner. However, in most markets, the buyer will typically ask the seller to pay for some or all of their closing costs. Again, who pays what amount will be negotiated between the buyer and seller. And a seller will most likely have to deal with some deficiencies discovered with a whole house inspection and the appraisal for the buyer's lender. This again is typically negotiated between the buyer and seller. In most markets, these transaction costs can add up to 10% to as much as 15 to 20% of the listing price of the house. The amount of discount will vary depending on market conditions, the condition of the house, and how desirable your house is to buyers. So, what a seller will net from the sale of the house may be much lower than the gross amount that an agent will tell you they can list the house for. The worst part of this is that the seller really never knows what they will specifically receive from the sale of their house until they're at the closing table, signing their closing documents. A cash offer from Home Downsizing Solutions may be approximately 5 to 10% less than you would net by putting your house on the market. But again, if you put a house on the market, there's no guarantee of what you will net, or even if or when it will sell. And Home Downsizing Solutions can typically make other offers than just an all-cash offer at closing that makes it possible for you to receive a much higher sales price for your house. All of this can be explained in detail when we meet to meet with you and look at your property. Now let's discuss lowball offers. Another big concern is if a home buying company is just going to provide a lowball offer. My first response to this concern is that if my company only gave lowball offers, we would not still be in business after 25 plus years. I will warn you, though, that there are companies that do just throw out lowball offers. knowing that most of their offers will be rejected, but that there will be some sellers that will accept the offer. It's just a numbers game to them. Another part of my answer to this concern is that it depends on the realistic expectations of the seller and the seller's reality of the current market. If a seller has recently had a real estate agent tell them that they can sell their house for, say, $120,000, but most others would agree it could only be sold for $100,000, the seller already has an inflated expectations of what their house will sell for. Another part of this equation is that if an agent or someone else has told a seller that it will only cost $10,000 for repairs and updates to bring the house up to a nice condition, but it will actually take $25,000 to $30,000 to bring the house up to a nice, similar condition to the market comparables, this again creates an inflated expectation in the mind of a seller. However, in situations where a seller's numbers and expectations are similar to what we see in the market, we can usually be a great solution. One other point that I will mention is that as a home buying company, we are risking our funds or credit when we buy a house. So we may be more conservative with our numbers than if we were an agent that just wanted to list your house that has no skin in the game and really nothing financially to lose. Now, let's discuss the concern about cash home buying companies being a scam. Because of today's technology, it doesn't take much to put up a website with the We Buy Houses message on and start running ads or deploy other marketing to get house sellers to contact them. Unfortunately, some of these companies are not real home buying companies. They may not have any intent or financial ability to buy houses. Their only goal is to get a contract to buy a house. Then they try to sell that contract to a person or company that actually can buy the house, collecting a check as a middleman. Since they have no skin in the game, like agents, they may have a tendency to overpromise or make you an offer that sounds too good to be true, and that may be the case. If one of these companies cannot find a real buyer, that can leave a seller that thinks their house is sold in a very difficult position. To avoid this type of scam, I will give you a few quick tips. 1, make sure the company has a local presence and will actually look at your house, not just make offers from pictures. 2, can the company close and buy your house in 7 days or less? A legitimate home buying company should be able to purchase your house as soon as the title and closing company can check title and prepare the closing paperwork, usually in 7 days or less. If they need more time than that, they may be a scam. You may not want to close that quickly, but just know that a real home buying company should be able to close in just a few days. 3rd, ask how the company came up with their offer. As I mentioned earlier, we attempt to be very transparent with how we come up with our offers, so you can see and understand how we arrived at them. As a bonus item, I'd like to give you a 4th tip. Ask if they provide multiple offers or solutions to buy your house. To be the best help I can to you, if you want to sell a house, I think it's necessary to provide you with more than just one solution or offer, so you can decide the best one for your specific situation. As an additional bonus item, check their Better Business Bureau, Google, or other reviews. Check how long they've been in business. Contact the title and closing company they say they use to get references from them. So, what is the catch with home buying companies? As I mentioned, if you're working with a real, legitimate company like Home Downsizing Solutions, and if the benefits that we provide are of value to you, there really is no catch. So, that wraps up today's show for the Home Downsizing Show. If you have any questions, please call our office, toll-free 855-291-5005. And, of course, if you'd like a free copy of my book, Home Downsizing Secrets, just go to homedownsizing secrets.com or call our office, and we'd be happy to mail one out to you right away. So I hope you found some value in today's show, and thank you for listening, and hope to see you next week. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home Downsizing Show. For additional information and resources on home downsizing, just go to homedownsizingblueprint.com. That's homedownsizingblueprint.com. Or if you're ready to sell your house and downsize, just go to homedownsizing-solutions.com. That's homedownsizing-solutions.com. And if you have ideas to improve our show, or topics that you'd like us to cover, or have any questions that we can answer, just call our office toll free 855-291-5005. That's 855-291-5005. Thank you.